Okay, ChLA, welcome once again to the awards banquet for 2012. I hope you all have had as wonderful and enriching time as I have had. I can't wait to get back. I had a breakthrough on my book. Really, wow. Really feel inspired and energized and ready to get back to work. So this is a time when we honor the fabulous work that our members have done or that we see being done in the field of children's literature. And I would like to ask of the committee chairs, you are more than welcome to thank your committee and have them stand if you'd like. Just be brief. The floor tonight belongs to Karen Hesse for her wonderful Phoenix Award, and so we would like to make sure that she has enough time, and I want to be known as the president that ran things efficiently. One of them. Anyway. Okay. So chairs, the way this will work is that I'll ask the chair or the representative of the committee to come up to present their award, and we'll hand you what you need for that. So if Marek would come up to present the International Sponsorship Grant, please. The next one will be the graduate student essay presented by Mike Cadden.
Hello. On behalf of ChLA International Committee, it is my pleasure to give this award that is called I'm sorry, I was completely unprepared, but it is an International Scholarship Grant. And it's my pleasure to announce that this grant this year is granted to Dr. Virgilia Almario. And Professor Almario is a poet, translator, critic, and Professor Emeritus of the Department of Filipino at the University of the Philippines. In the year 2003, he was declared National Artist for Literature, the highest honor that given to artists in the Philippines. And he's been extremely instrumental in establishing Filipino children's literature as really as a market, as books in the Filipino language. He was instrumental in establishing the first publishing house in the Philippines, devoted exclusively to books for children, Filipino books for children, He's also an author of over 30 books, a poet translator, and the list of his accomplishments is very, very long. And we were so extremely pleased to have him join us this year at Simmons as our distinguished guest scholar and give his presentation at a focus country panel on Philippine children's literature. So thank you, and Professor Almario, I don't know where he is.
Okay, Mike Cadden is going to present the awards for the graduate student essay.
I'd thank my committee, but they were no good. So. Actually, Mike Levy and Jonathan Klassen helped out a lot. The only all-male committee at ChLA. Neither is here, so. We have 2 awards to give out for the Graduate Student Essay Awards, and I want to thank the faculty members for submitting those essays because we really want those graduate programs to be involved in this. So if you have a master's or a doctoral student writing good papers, send them to the immediate past president, Michelle Martin. Our PhD level award is Amanda Phillips Chapman for The Riddle of Peter Pan's Existence and Unselfconscious Stage Child, and Mara Gabar, her sponsor, could not be here tonight, but thanks to Mara as well. So, Amanda. Thanks, I'm glad I got to hear it today, too. Read it and hear it. Our master's level award goes to Jill Cost for Coping with Compulsion Through Fantasy and Harriet the Spy, Dangerous Angels, and Winter Girls, and sponsored by June Cummins. Thank you, June, at San Diego State University. Jill? I know. June is racking up the winners, so she's already a couple ahead of the rest of you, so you need to get on the ball.
Jill is also the only one who's ever won it twice, so that's pretty amazing. Okay, Kenneth Kidd, would you please come up to introduce the winners of the Hannah Bider Graduate Student Research Grants?
Do the Bider one first? Okay.
Yeah, these are the four.
Yes, and then the research place. Okay. So, hi. I do want to thank my committee first, and I won't talk about I was going to have them talk about their childhoods and tell anecdotes, but we won't do that in the interest of time. Chris McGee, who's here. Lee Talley, also, I think she's still here. Yes. And let's see, Phil Serrato is not with us, I don't think, this conference, but also Julie Pfeiffer. So thank you very much for your work. I just want to say really quickly, it's fabulous to be involved in the grants committee because we can actually do something for people. Not that these other awards aren't also very meaningful, but and I would encourage everyone to continue to apply. If you've applied before and you haven't gotten an award, please continue to express interest in it because we always get outstanding projects and we can only award some people support, but it's really a cool thing that we do. So one thing I would like to do is you have in your program a list of the Bider recipients, and I want to just quickly tell you what their projects are also. Pushali Badhuri, and if you could just come up, we'll contain our enthusiasm until we're all done. I think we have a number of our recipients here. Pushali Badhuri, are you here? Come on down. Pushali's project is Nationalism and Global Consciousness in Post-Colonial Indian Print Culture. And she's working on Bengali children's publishing, specifically 1924 to 1950. Maura Cunningham? Okay. Maura's project is basically archival research on Zhang Liping and the Sanmayo comics, which is really a fabulous project. Katie Strode, I know Katie's here looking very dashing. Katie, there she is. Katie, who's at UC Riverside, is doing dissertation in archival research on children's literature and historical avant-garde. That's what the award was for her. Kate Slater, the fabulous Kate Slater. Come on down. Kate is the support for this project was for a dissertation in archival research at the Vivian Burnett Collection at Princeton. And finally, Shu Shu, who is also here. Shu is working on a project called The Nation's Childhood and Children's Literature in Modern China. So please give them a round of applause. Oh yeah. I guess they want these. And the second part of my portion of the evening, the faculty research grants. And you do have a description of the projects as well as the list of names in your program, so I won't repeat that information. But the first recipient alphabetically is Ramona Capinegro. So come on down, Ramona, please. Congratulations. The next recipient alphabetically is Raquel Green. I don't think Raquel's here. Oh, you are. I'm so sorry. So please come. I haven't actually gotten to talk to you, so come on down. I'm not going to get myself in trouble this time. Jane Newland is our third recipient. Come on down. This is great. I love that we have so much participation. And finally, Anna Panchik also. Yes. This is fabulous. I've got to talk to everybody. The next final two recipients for this are Malini Roy, who I'm fairly certain is not here. I know Malini and I haven't seen her, but she's to be congratulated as well. And finally, Sarah Schwebel, who is very much here. So please come down and congratulations to you. Fantastic projects, and I want to congratulate you and again encourage folks to continue to apply. And thank you for the support, and thanks to ChLA for the support. So, okay, let's see. So that's yours, please. these are the ones I need. Hopefully I haven't stolen your papers. You can tell me if I- Sorry. No, just think. She was, we'll have to, yeah. We'll get it sorted out. We'll be right back. So, thanks.
All right. Okay, and the next award is the Carol Gay Awards, presented by Claudia Nelson. After that will be the book award.
Okay, thanks to my committee, Lynn Vallone and Rebecca Morris. We have an honor essay winner, and she's not here, but I will read out her name because I like her title. It's Caitlin Benson for Thank Heaven for Little Girls, Feminine Piety as Agency in Elsie Dinsmore, sponsored by Jackie Stahlkopf. And our winner is Jody Person for Take It to the Porch, Meeting the Other in To Kill a Mockingbird, sponsored by Amy Sondheim. And I think Jody is here, right? Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, and the book award. So, Libby Gruner. Okay.
Yeah, I too, sorry, laryngitis. I too want to thank my committee, both outgoing members, Liz Goodenough and Phil Nell, and Catherine Tosenberger, who's also not here, but who agreed to stay on an additional year because we had an open spot. Kim Reynolds, Jean Stevenson, Ian Wojcik-Andrews, and then the incoming members, Keith Dorick and Mara Gubar. So we have a great committee. They do a lot of work, a lot of reading, and then I get to stand up here and give the award, which is a lot of fun. This year we did have an honor book, which was Megan Norcia's X Marks the Spot. And then it's my very great pleasure to present the book award to Natalie Optebeck for her book, Suspended Animation, Children's Picture Books, and the Fairy Tale of Modernity. This is a book that really impressed the committee with its thorough research, its elegant exposition, its complexity, and its clarity. As one reader claimed, Suspended Animation is a must-read for anyone interested in picture books' aesthetics, history, and complexity. She's developed, excuse me, a cultural history of the American picture book from the 1910s to the 1940s, maintaining a deft balance between formalist close readings, socio-literary context, and theoretically motivated analyses. The book makes a compelling argument for historically based close reading and invites us to reread classic picture books more closely. So the committee is really happy to award this book and to congratulate Natalie for her excellent scholarship. Natalie.
Okay, the Ann Devereaux Jordan Award Chair. Adrian, okay.
I am not the chair of the Ann Devereaux Jordan Award. I'm a member of the committee. Ann Phillips could not be here, and she thought that even when I'm coughing nonstop, I have a loud voice, so I'd be appropriate to present the award. So I would like to acknowledge the work of the other members of the committee, Karen Coates, who is here, Jill May, who I think is not here, and Martha Hickson, who left this afternoon. We all worked under Anne's direction, and Anne will be continuing as chair next year. This is a very long citation, and it is in tiny font. I will try. Okay. In recognition of scholarship and service which have made lasting contributions to the field of children's literature, the Children's Literature Association Anne Devereaux Jordan Award is presented to Karen Nelson Hoyle, tireless ambassador for children's literature. Throughout Karen Nelson Hoyle's distinguished career, students have relished her courses on such topics as the history of children's literature, children's picture books, and international children's literature. Scholars have learned from her publications and the dozens of presentations she has delivered throughout North America, Europe, and Asia. Numerous organizations have also benefited from her tireless service to the profession. As curator since 1967 of the children's literature research collections at the University of Minnesota, including the Curlin and Hesse collections, Karen built a world-class collection enriched by the unique contributions of authors and artists, collectors, and donors. The materials she amassed will continue to attract and delight patrons of all ages from around the world. Among her scholarly accomplishments are her monograph, Wanda Gag, A Life of Art and Stories, her publications on Scandinavian and Scandinavian American children's literature, and her studies of books about the immigrant experience. Active in international children's literature circles, she was one of 3 Americans invited in 1989 to present at the USSR Writers' Conference on Children's and Youth Literature in Moscow. A vibrant contributor to numerous and prominent organizations, she served the Children's Literature Association as a 2-term board member, treasurer, vice president, and president. She chaired the program committee for the 1997 annual meeting of the American Library Association and served as secretary for the International Research Society for Children's Literature. She has been active in the International Board of Books for Young People and the United States Board of Books for Young People, among other organizations. Her breadth of knowledge and long-term efforts on behalf of children's and adolescent literature have led to her selection for influential award committees. In addition to chairing the Caldecott Award Committee, she served as a committee member for the Hans Christian Andersen Award, the Newbery Award, and the Laura Ingalls Wilder Award. In recognition of the remarkable contributions, Karen has received numerous honors, including the 1992 Minnesota Library Association Distinguished Achievement Award, the 2011 Bridge Award from the Eric Carle Museum, and the 2012 Curlin Award. The Children's Literature Association today adds to this list by giving this consummate children's literature teacher, scholar, curator, and advocate the Anne Devereaux Jordan Award. As we celebrate her many accomplishments, we also acknowledge with gratitude the kindness she has extended to the many ChLA members and friends who have been inspired by her warmth and encouragement. Karen, wherever you are, in a bigger print. Can I give you a hug? For sure. Thank you. And I'll just say a couple of words. For sure. And you get this too. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you to ChLA for this lovely award. I must say that I represent all the special collections librarians and archives curators who invite you to come and mine the treasures which our collections represent. I know that Ezra Jack Keats' exhibit will be at the Eric Carle very soon, and we're just thrilled that the Karen Hesse archives are at the Curlin collection. So we thank you very much.
If Holly Blackford could come forward to present the article award.
Okay, first, thanks to my Article Award Committee. I had 6 wonderful members this year: Michael Joseph, Susan Stewart, Tammy Milkey, Kathy Butler, Jennifer Merchant, and Sharon Scapel. First, I'll announce the runner-up. I don't think that she is here, but let me tell you about her essay. Committee members identified her article as a powerful analysis of the ways in which the racial politics of the Bush administration's reaction to Hurricane Katrina is echoed in Disney's The Princess and the Frog. The title of the article, named for honorable mention, is Dreams Do Come True in New Orleans: American Fairy Tales, Post-Katrina New Orleans, and Disney's The Princess and the Frog, published in Papers, Volume 20, and the writer is Dr. Rajia Zaman Chowdhury. Now for the winner of the 2010 award. Committee members felt that this article brought important insight and historical context to the work of Jacqueline Rose and where our field stands in terms of theory today. They enjoyed the styling of the argument and the use of a Bakhtinian lens to bring an invigorating answer to Rose's idea of the impossibility of childhood. The winning essay title is Children's Literature and the Return to Rose, published in Children's Lit Association Quarterly, Volume 35, and the writer, please come up for congratulations, is Professor David Rudd.
And the Edited Book Award is being presented by Annette Wanamaker.
All right, Fern Corey, who is the chair of this committee, couldn't be here, but she sent me an email for what I should say. So I'm not texting. I'm reading the script that she sent. All right, I should begin by saying on behalf of the Edited Book Award Committee that each of the volumes contending for the 2010 award helped us to extend and refine our ideas about the characteristics and qualities of an excellent edited collection. There were some very strong contenders for the award, but in the end, we selected a book that one member of the committee praised as, quote, a great model for the range of critical work that might be done with a children's text. The introductory essay of this volume in the Children's Literature Association Centennial Studies series was described by another reader as scholarly, thorough, and thoughtful. Others used terms like exemplary and stellar. Committee members also praised the organization of this volume, its user-friendly apparatus, and of course, the essays themselves, which we found fresh and illuminating. The Edited Book Award Committee is pleased to honor the second winner of this award, Kenneth Graham's The Wind in the Willows, a children's classic at 100, and to recognize the fine work done by its editors, Donna White and Jackie Horn.
I just want to tell everyone I'm one of Karen Nelson Hoyle's many accomplishments. Thank you, Karen.
Okay, and for what we've all been waiting for, Leona Fisher is going to come up to introduce our Phoenix winner for this year.
This thing's really insistent. It's sort of, it's ever so frightening. Good evening. Let me begin by thanking the Phoenix Committee that worked on tonight's awards. Barbara Carmen Garner, Vivian Yenica Agba, Judith Plotz, and Bree Shannon, as well as the new 2013 editions, Wally Hastings and Lois Roush Gibson. We also are welcoming this year 2 new members, Liz Goodnow and Carla Schmidt, who were elected this spring. I will finish my term in September and will be replaced by Lisa Rowe Frostino as the new Phoenix chair. Once again, 1992 was a very good year in the field of children's and YA fiction. We therefore are very proud, after a lot of work, to announce the Phoenix Award winner, Karen Hesse, and her book, Letters from Rivka, which I understand many of you teach, and 2 honor books, the late Michael Doris's Morning Girl and the late Francis Temple's Taste of Salt, A Story of Modern Haiti. Yet again, all 3 are historical novels. Before I turn to the amazing accomplishments of Karen Hesse, this evening's honoree, I want to share the results of our voting for next year's award. The winner of the 2013 Phoenix Award is Gay Hajilmas for her stunning novel about Turkish immigrants in Switzerland, The Frozen Waterfall. As Judith Plotz has written in her publicity blurb for the novel, quote, fosters an appreciation of the complex postmodern condition of belonging to several worlds, exemplified by the metaphor of the frozen waterfall. We are also pleased to announce that Ms. Hajilmas will be traveling all the way from Kent in the UK to join us for the Mississippi Conference. I don't know how she'll feel about the venue, but we're all going to have fun, and it's wonderful that she's coming. The honor book for next year is Walter Dean Meyer's biography, Malcolm X by Any Means Necessary. Unusual in that it is nonfiction, in a Phoenix list, as you know, dominated by fiction. The short list for next year consisted of the following, sort of a who's who of children's writers: Virginia Hamilton, Plain City; Kyoko Mori, Shizuku's Daughter; Gary Paulson, Night John; Virginia Ewer-Wolf, Make Lemonade; and Lawrence Yep, Dragon's Gate. I will now turn to our evening's winner, the brilliant and courageous Karen Hesse, whose more than 20 novels, picture books, and stories for children and young adults have captivated both adults and children for 20 years, and who received a MacArthur Fellowship Genius Award in 2002 and the Curlin Award in 2006. Perhaps best known by child readers is her novel in free verse, the Newbery Award-winning Out of the Dust. But she has also written delightful picture books, as well as such experiments as The Music of Dolphins, about a girl raised by dolphins; her ambitious 2001 novel, Witness, a poetic play in 5 acts about a 1924 attempt of the Ku Klux Klan to terrorize and dominate a Vermont town; her edgy picture book, The Cats in Krasinski Square, about a young Jewish girl's contribution to the resistance in Warsaw during World War II; and Aleutian Sparrow, which tells the story of Vera, a young Aleut girl who struggles to survive during the 1942 Japanese invasion of the Aleutian Islands. As an English major and an anthropology and psychology minor who began writing poetry during college and who was told by a prescient teacher in 5th grade that she was good with words, Karen Hesse seems to have been destined for a career as a writer, even though writing constituted only one of her stated early ambitions. When asked by scholastic interviewers what she had wanted to be when she grew up, however, she responded, braver. It is difficult to imagine anyone braver than she has been throughout her writing career. I would now like to read a brief selection of her poems. First, from Out of the Dust, narrated by Billy Joe, a precocious piano-playing 12-year-old living in the Dust Bowl during the Great Depression. First, Fields of Flashing Light. I heard the wind rise and stumbled from my bed, down the stairs, out the front door, into the yard. The night sky kept flashing. Lightning danced down on its spindly legs. I sensed it before I knew it was coming. I heard it, smelled it, tasted it. dust. While Ma and Daddy slept, the dust came, tearing up fields where the winter wheat, set for harvest in June, stood helpless. I watched the plants, surviving after so much drought and so much wind. I watched them fry, or flatten, or blow away, like bits of cast-off rags. It wasn't until the dust turned toward the house like a fired locomotive, and I lied, and I fled, barefoot and breathless, back inside. It wasn't until the dust hissed against the windows, until it ratcheted the roof, that Daddy woke. He ran into the storm, his overalls half hooked over his union suit. "Daddy," I called, "you can't stop dust." Ma told me to cover the beds, push the scatter rugs against the doors, dampen the rags around the windows, wiping dust out of everything. She made coffee and biscuits, waiting for Daddy to come in. Sometime after 4, rubbing low on her back, Ma sank down into a chair at the kitchen table and covered her face. Daddy didn't come back for hours, not until the temperature dropped so low it brought snow. Ma and I sighed, grateful, staring out at the dirty flakes, but our relief didn't last. The wind snatched that snow right off the fields, leaving behind a sea of dust. Waves and waves and waves of dust, rippling across our yard. Daddy came in. He sat across from Ma and blew his nose. Mud streamed out. He coughed and spit out mud. If he had cried, his tears would have been mud too. But he didn't cry, and neither did Ma. This one's hard. I'm going to read the accident for those of you who know the book. I got burned bad. Daddy put out a pail of kerosene next to the stove, and Ma, fixing breakfast, thinking the pail was filled with water, lifted it to make Daddy's coffee, poured it, but instead of making coffee, Ma made a rope of fire. It rose up from the stove to the pail, and the kerosene burst into flames. Ma ran across the kitchen, out the porch door, screaming for Daddy. I tore after her. Then, thinking of the burning pail left behind in the bone-dry kitchen, I flew back and grabbed it, throwing it out the door. I didn't know Ma was coming back. The flaming oil splashed onto her apron, and suddenly Ma was a column of fire. I pushed her to the ground, desperate to save her, desperate to save the baby. I tried, beating out the flames with my hands. I did the best I could, but it was no good. Ma got burned bad. Just one more. I'm sorry about the sad part. It gets happier later. This one's called Nightmare. Next year I'll write a funny paper just to make up for this. These are so wonderful, you have to admit. Nightmare. I am awake now, still shaking from my dream. I was coming home through a howling dust storm. My lowered back was scrubbed raw by dirt and wind. Grit scratched my eyes. It crunched between my teeth. Sand chafed inside my clothes, against my skin. Dust crept inside my ears, up my nose, down my throat. I shuddered, nasty with dust. In the house, dust blew through the cracks in the walls. It covered the floorboards and heaped against the doors. It floated in the air everywhere. I didn't care about anyone, anything, only the piano. I searched for it, found it under a mound of dust. I was angry at Ma for letting in the dust. I cleaned off the keys, but when I played, a tortured sound came from the piano, like someone shrieking. I hit the keys with my fist, and the piano broke into 100 pieces. Daddy called to me. He asked me to bring water. Ma was thirsty. I brought up a pail of fire, and Ma drank it. She had given birth to a baby of flames. The baby burned at her side. I ran away to the Eaton's farm. The house had been tractored out, tipped off its foundation. No one could live there. Everywhere I looked were dunes of rippled dust. The wind roared like fire. The door to the house hung open, and there was dust inside, several feet deep, and there was a piano. The bench was gone right through the floor. The piano leaned toward me. I stood and played. The relief I felt to hear the sound of music after the sound of the piano at home. I dragged the Eaton's piano through the dust to our house, but when I got there, I couldn't play. I had swollen lumps for hands. They dripped a sickly pus. They swung stupidly from my wrists. They stung with pain. When I woke up, the part about my hands was real. Broken promise. It rained a little everywhere but here. And then I'm not going to do any more sad ones. This is after she comes back from going west by train, and it's called Met. I know Karen is upset that this book is sad for so long before it starts to get happy. And I just reinforce that impression, I know. So I'm going to read this one, which has a certain heartwarming hopefulness to it, however modified by certain other complexities. Met. My father is waiting at the station, and I call him Daddy for the first time since Ma died. And we walk home together, talking. I tell him about getting out of the dust and how I can't get out of something that's inside me. I tell him he is like the sod and I am like the wheat, and I can't grow everywhere, but I can grow here. With a little rain, with a little care, with a little luck. And I tell him how scared I am about those spots on his skin, and I see he's scared too. I can't be my own mother, I tell him, and I can't be my own father, and if we're both going to leave me, well, what am I supposed to do? And when I tell Daddy so, he promises to call Doc Rice. He says the pond is done. We can swim in it once it fills, and he'll stock it with fish, too, catfish, that I can go out and catch of an evening and fry up. He says I can even plant flowers if I want. As we walk together side by side in the swell of dust, I am forgiving him, step by step, for the pail of kerosene. As we walk together side by side in the soul-deep dust, I am forgiving myself for all the rest. I wanted to read from Witness too, but enough of me, so I'm not going to do that. I just want everyone in the world to read this book, so I would like very much for you. If you want to hear a dramatic reading after the banquet, I'll be happy to hold forth in the hallway. So, okay. Finally, let me turn briefly to the Phoenix Award-winning Letters from Rivka, a riveting epistolary novel whose prose sounds like poetry, written from the point of view of a young Russian immigrant to the United States at the turn of the 20th century. Based largely on memories Hesse learned from her great-aunt Lucy, the novel is rich in suspense as well as cultural detail, including quotations from Alexander Pushkin, whose poetry Rivka carries with her to the new land. As she first writes to her cousin Tova back in Russia, Rivka reflects on her blonde hair, which will potentially enable her to pass as a Russian peasant girl rather than an automatically blameworthy Jew. Quote, "You say a girl must not depend on her looks, Tova. It is better to be clever. But as the guards inspected me, from the worn toes of my boots to my hair spilling out from under my kerchief, I hoped my looks would be enough. I hated the guard touching my hair. I clutched your book of poetry tighter to keep my hands from striking him away. I knew I must not anger him. If I angered him, I not only put my life in danger, I endangered Mama and Papa and Nathan and Saul too. The guard with the unshaven face held my curls in his hand. He looked up and down the length of me as if he were hungry and I were a piece of Mama's pastry. I held still. Inside I twisted like a wrung rag, but on the outside I held still." Hesse has called this novel, quote, "a gift to my grandparents and to my heritage and to people like Rivka who have made the passage between two worlds. It is also a gift to all of us, as is its author, Karen Hesse. I'm honored to give her the Phoenix Award." Did I use
Well, my heart is pounding and my ears are roaring and my eyes are leaking. Thank you, Leona, for such a beautiful reading and such a lovely introduction. Thank you, Lisa, for being such a kind shepherd today and getting me here. It's funny how many bridges we cross over the course of a lifetime. Some of us are frightened by bridges. My husband, for example, one of the bravest people I know, he dreads driving over the Chesapeake Bay. Well, that fear is understandable, particularly for any of you who have crossed that soaring span over the restless waters of the Chesapeake. As beneficial as a bridge can be, how else would we get so expeditiously from the western to the eastern shore of Maryland? As much service as a bridge provides, any bridge can be unnerving. For one thing, the great unknown awaits on the other side of the bridge, fraught with its own nest of anxieties. But from beneath the bridge, and now you're going to get an idea of how very weird I am if Leona's reading didn't already clinch it. From beneath the bridge, sometimes it feels as if the dark underbelly of our fears is blindly groping up toward us, without even considering what might await the traveler in the future once they've completed their crossing. Most immediately unnerving is what might be lurking below. It's such an archetypal fear, but without bridges, how arduous, how dangerous our journeys would in fact be. In my latest novel, Safekeeping, the main character, Radley, walks over 250 miles. To create a credible impression for the reader of what that might feel like, I walked a fair portion of those miles myself. That walk changed the way I looked at the character and the book, but it also changed the way I looked at the terrain we humans traverse daily. Originally, to keep my character from being apprehended, I considered having her travel off the road, through the landscape. But if my character left the road, the challenges of getting her to her future, to what awaited her at her destination, without bridges, over rivers and brooks, across densely vegetated expanses, through extensive swampy stretches, it would have been insurmountable. I learned very quickly that despite the risk of being detected, she would have been in far more peril. I, as a writer, would have been in far more peril if I'd gone with my first idea. Ultimately, my character made her journey on the open road because roads employ bridges, and bridges render the impassable possible. No matter how dangerous her journey was, no matter what awaited her at the other side, it would have been far more dangerous if she'd forgone bridges. Humans have built bridges for a long time. The first arch bridge is dated back to the 13th century BC. Imagine how much farther back we could go to date the first simple log or stone bridge humans made. Bridges help us transition from one point in our journey to another, spanning distances in space. Engineers have come up with quite elegant solutions to bridge design. I, too, like my dear husband, once feared bridges, but in recent years I've come more to admire their beauty and respect their service. The Phoenix Award, whoever thought of it, it is such a brilliant concept. Each year you build a bridge spanning not space, but time. 20 years of a writer's life. You give the writer an extraordinary ride from one point of their career to another, 2 decades later. You make it possible very cleanly to bridge the distance between who that writer was at the time of publication of the chosen book and who that writer has become over the ensuing years. Letters from Rivka was my second published children's book. I wrote it to bridge the void of my knowledge regarding my grandparents' departure from Russia and their arrival in America in the early part of the 20th century. I'd always been a curious mite, the way no-see-ums or black flies seem to be all teeth. I was, still am to a large degree, all questions. When I was a child, I badgered my grandparents for stories of the old country. These two exceedingly indulgent people refused me very little. But this was one place they would not return to, one bridge they would not cross back over for anyone, not even for me. In fact, my inquiries often put them in such an agitated state that I could see them grow cold and stubborn before my very eyes, something I rarely saw from them. I didn't understand, and instead of backing off, I'd push harder. The old country is a bad place, they'd say finally. You want to talk? We'll talk America. America is good. I didn't know then what my grandparents knew. I knew that miracles were needed, that courage was imperative to bring my grandparents across that vast bridge from Russia to America. What I didn't know, what I didn't find out until only a few years ago, is that our relatives who had remained in Berdichev, including the family represented by the characters of Tova and Hannah, Baba Ruth, and Uncle Avram, I didn't know that my remaining family, along with the entire Jewish population of Berdichev, had been rounded up by the German SS in September of 1941, led to a killing field on the outskirts of town, and murdered. 30,000 Jews in all, half the entire population of Berdichev, 3 times the total population of the town I live in now. No wonder my grandparents didn't want to talk with me, with anyone, about the old country. Can you imagine the horror boiling under the bridge they'd crossed to get from their pasts to their present. So my questions remained unanswered, and my grandparents died with their stories untold. It was only after I was nearly finished my work on my first published children's book, Wish on a Unicorn, that I began sniffing again around my family tree. Writers can't help themselves. Nothing, well, almost nothing, is safe from the writer's voracious hunger for more material. I asked my mother and my aunts for stories about my grandparents' lives in Russia, but they couldn't help me. Write to your great-aunt Lucy, they'd suggested. So I wrote to my Aunt Lucy, asking her dozens of questions about my grandparents. Lucy was the youngest sibling and only sister of my grandfather. At the bottom of my letter to my great-aunt, I included a postscript. If you can't answer these questions about Bubby or Zadie, could you please answer them about yourself? It was the best P.S. I ever wrote. My aunt responded by sending an audio cassette telling me at breakneck speed the story of her life. I stood vigilant over the tape player, leaning in, straining to catch every word. I listened to the cassette as my aunt outlined what she'd lived through, with a matter-of-factness that made the story even more compelling. All told, the tape ran for about 12 minutes. When Aunt Lucy's voice went silent at the end, I knew I had to learn more. The cassette provided only an overview, a mere sketch of Aunt Lucy's life. I wanted details. I didn't know it then, at that moment, but I had begun the first thrilling steps over a bridge that would lead me back in time to my aunt's childhood in Russia, and forward in time to this very moment. I knew nothing back then about the US or Russia or Europe during the early 1900s. I needed to thoroughly understand the political, social, and economic conditions existing during the 19-teens and 1920s before I took any more of my aunt's time. I spent months doing research to become well-versed enough to be an intelligent interviewer. And even after I came away from my aunt's home with hours and hours of tapes, I still had so much more to learn in order to create a credible story, in order to build a bridge that would keep my readers safe and secure and carry them faithfully from one side to the other of my aunt's experience. Fortunately, my editor, Brenda Bowen, was very patient with me, because even after I'd amassed all that information, even after transcribing 10 hours of audio tapes, I could not find the voice to tell my aunt's story. I had the cadence and inflection and insight of an old woman in my ears. I needed to transform that somehow back into the voice of a child. I found this a nearly impossible bridge to build. One you, Phoenix Committee, prove over and over to be a supremely achievable task. But I didn't know how to build such a bridge so early in my career. I started Rivka over perhaps a dozen times. Each time I'd bring the new draft to my writing group, consisting of Eileen Christolow, Liza Ketchum, and the late Bob McLean. I'd read the first chapter to them, and they'd say encouraging things, but I knew when I heard it aloud, when I read it to an audience, I knew the voice was wrong. And so I'd toss that draft out and start again. Finally, in desperation, I tried a technique I'd heard other writers use. I posed the problem to myself one night before going to sleep. In the shower the following morning, sorry for that image, the answer came to me. Why not letters? Why not an epistolary novel? I was waiting at the library door when it opened later that day, and I checked out Daddy Longlegs, the only epistolary novel I could find in my tiny hometown library. After I'd absorbed how to use the form, I turned back to my aunt's story. The moment I changed my angle of approach to the book, the moment I typed, "Dear Tova," I could hear young Rivka's voice. It settled perfectly over the older voice of my aunt, like silk. The rest of the first draft poured out of me. I finally had the missing element I needed for constructing the bridge that was letters from Rivka. There was plenty of revision to come, not least of which was combing through the complete works of Alexander Pushkin and pairing the perfect Pushkin quotes with what Rivka was about to relate in her letters. That alone took months, and that was only one aspect to be considered during revisions. But finding the voice in which to tell the story was the single most important element I'd been lacking in this particular bridge construction. The span erected over the 20 years since Letters from Rivka's publication has been almost dreamlike in the way it has arced skyward, much like the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, soaring beyond my wildest dreams. I stepped onto that bridge, as I said, at the beginning of my career. This 20-year span has lifted me to extraordinary professional heights, and it has supported me over some devastating personal lows. But what the Phoenix Committee has given me with this award goes, I think, far beyond the original intention. Yes, it has given me the opportunity to look backward and forward over my life, and believe me, it is far easier to traipse across this bridge of time you've created than to travel those years again, minute by minute, day by day. But what I'm about to share with you is the most important, the most poignant facet of this award for me. One of the other recipients of recognition this year, as you know, is Frances Temple and her book, Taste of Salt. I read Frances Temple's book when it was first published and was enthralled with the writing style and subject matter. 20 years ago, Haiti was not on my radar screen. Frances Temple's book placed it there, it turns out, indelibly. I went on to read more about Haiti. The writing of Edwige Dandicat has been a source of wonder and awe for me. Another huge standout was Tracy Kidder's brilliant book about Paul Farmer's work in Haiti, Mountains Beyond Mountains. And now, 20 years after reading Taste of Salt, I've written my own book, inspired in part by Haiti. Safekeeping, the novel I mentioned earlier, which comes out this September, both begins and ends in Haiti. I have no doubt that the seeds of my concern and awareness of this complicated country were sown by Frances Temple and the book she published 20 years ago. How I wish she could be standing here tonight. My present life is so intertwined with the lives of 36 orphans in Haiti that I spend at least an hour each day, every day, working to better their lot. It has become a source of joy, of creativity, of peace, and of gratitude for me. And I don't know if I would have taken this path over this bridge if not for Frances Temple and her beautiful Taste of Salt. That's the power of books. That's the power of this award, to help us remember work that has been forgotten by nearly everyone else. After reading with such admiration Frances Temple's first book, I made certain to read everything she published. When she died so suddenly, I grieved for a too short life and a too short career. I was devastated by her death. I swore I would keep the memory of Frances Temple and her work alive. I regret to say I did not live up to that vow for more than a few years. I was too busy on my own journey to tend to hers. Let me say that I've never made such a vow again. Now you've done what I could not do. Thank you, all of you dedicated, hardworking Phoenix Committee members, for reminding all of us of the beauty and power of this woman's exceptional writing. To have letters from Rivka held up and examined and placed in the same focused beam of light as Taste of Salt and so many other extraordinarily fine Phoenix Award winners is an honor beyond which any of you knew or could have imagined. My Aunt Lucy died a few years ago. She was nearly 100 years old. Dementia runs in my family. Aunt Lucy, one of the smartest, most nimble-minded, funniest people I'd ever met, Aunt Lucy, in the end, did not remember who she was. This was a woman who spoke at least 4 languages. In her last year, she had no language at all. But in her obituary, Letters from Rivka was cited as being the story of Lucio Avrutin's early journey to America. She had been so proud of the book and the recognition it brought her, recognition she never sought. Even her children wouldn't have known her story if I hadn't asked, but recognition she bore with grace and delight once the book came into existence. I'd love to take this moment to urge you all to capture the stories of the elders in your lives before they leave and their stories vanish forever. Help them to build a bridge between their past and our present. It is a gift to the future, a gift that will keep on giving, believe me. Thank you for this award, for honoring me, my work, my aunt, and immigrants of all sorts, everywhere, crossing bridges large and small, long and short, high and low, to arrive at the other side, where their destiny awaits them. I didn't know this was where my path would lead when I first stepped foot on the bridge so many years ago. I didn't know what the surprises lurking beneath the bridge would be, threatening to pull me under. Nor did I know about the phenomenal heights to which the bridge would carry me. You, Phoenix Committee and ChLA, have breathed a puff of fresh air into the lungs of an old book, and you have breathed a heap of gratitude into the heart of an evanescing writer, and I thank you.
Thank you. Many of us who have been teaching Karen Hesse's work for 17, 18, 20 years have always known it's been good. Now we know why. And just the respect that she has for children to put years of research into a book that's going to help them to cross those bridges is, I'm overwhelmed. Okay. Wanted to put out a few thank yous because the conference has been wonderful. I gave the statistics this morning that 415 are in attendance and 14% of those are international. And so I'm so excited that the world has come to ChLA and that we are so honored to be here. I want to thank Beth Chitness, who had to go home to her 19-month-old son this morning, and Kay Eckstein Ciesla, the two women who came from Meeting Expectations, who is the management company that's starting to manage ChLA. Is she still here? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Kathy Kiesling, of course, who has been with us and loved us and mentored us and been, the kind of herding cats kind of person at times, has retired, which I told her she's not old enough for that, but she's moving on to other things, but is finishing up with us in the next few months. So we have given her thank you last year, this year, and we're very grateful for the years that she dedicated to ChLA. Also wanted to thank the paper selection committee. I'm not sure if any of them are here. Is any of the paper selection committee here? Okay, thank you so much. And I give from Simmons. And also Kathy Mercier, who isn't here but sent a representative from Simmons. And I'm sorry, your name is? Thank you. Megan Lambert is here. And there was the team was here throughout the conference to help plan, to make sure everything was running on schedule, to make sure all the technology was in place. And I want to give them a great round of applause as well. And if there is nothing else, I wish you all a good night and safe travels home. Thank you. If anyone needs parking validation, please see Kay right here. If anybody needs parking validation, it's available up here.
Yeah, so one of the faculty presented, Raquel Welch was the one who didn't have the envelope. I don't know if Raquel Green, I'm sorry. So I don't know if she's here, but I'm not sure we had an envelope for her.
You know why? I think it's because she may have not indicated early enough.
We were coming. Okay.
Yeah, so the money is there, but...
okay. So should I just tell her that we'll be in touch with her? Or?
Which one was it? I'm sorry.
She's on the one of the faculty. Yes. Okay. I didn't bring my program up here, but she's. Did I grab yours by mistake? I hope not. Quite possible. I have my list out there, but
yeah. Tell Kay, and I'm pretty sure because everybody was highlighted in blue who said they were coming.
Okay.
And if she didn't say she was coming, or she told us late, they wouldn't have gotten in there.
Okay. All right. So I just said that we'll be in touch with you. The organization will be in touch with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
She won it. It's hers. It's just a matter of getting it to her.
Okay. Cool.
ChLA, the bar will close at 8:30, so if you want any last drink, go ahead and get it. Again, the bar will be closing at 8:30.